as I was reading about it, because all of us, we have five, if that data is accurate, you taste five different things. Okay, you taste things that are sweet, bitter, sour, what else? Umami, which I'm not real familiar with umami, and salt. So 5 things, right? Salt, sweet, bitter, sour, and umami. And when you put salt on something, what salt does is it enhances the sweetness and the sour and the umami. So that's why when you do desserts, there's always salt in the ingredient, and so that enhances those different flavors. And it reduces bitterness. So when I put salt on food, if it has a little bit of a bitter taste in it, it'll decrease it. If you put a whole bunch of salt on something, it'll suppress sweetness, so then you lose your sweetness, but then it increases the umami. Okay? And what salt will stimulate your taste buds to be able to taste food better. Anybody know somebody just puts a truckload of salt on it? I mean, it's like they can't stop shaking it on their, anybody know? Yeah. Who's that? Reagan? No, it's not Reagan. Lila's lying about Reagan. But I've seen those people. It's like, good heavens, what are you doing to your food? But it's salt. So salt, you can think of it like this. Salt is similar to a volume knob on a radio or stereo or whatever in your car, that it enhances, it turns up the flavor. So when you add salt to food, it turns up or enhances the flavor. It's interesting in history, and most of you know this, historically, what did they use salt for? Like way back? Yeah, it was a preservative, right? So they kept food, meat, they packed it in salt so it wouldn't go bad. It wouldn't, sour, degrade or whatever. It's interesting that the Romans, back when the Romans were in power, they used to pay their soldiers with salt. And it was valuable. That's why they did it, because that's how they preserved their food. And so the Latin word for salt is salare. Okay, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but salare. But that is the root word that we get our word salary from. So when you get paid monthly, if you have a job, the word salary, it comes from the root word of salt, because they paid the Romans every month using salt so they could preserve their food. So we also know that Jesus tells us what? To be the what of the earth? Salt of the earth. We say, okay, what does that mean? What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to go out and essentially turn the volume up on life. Life should be better around Christians. So if I do life around Crimson, if she is being salt, she's enhancing my life. And hopefully I'm doing the opposite. Okay, so Jesus said, hey, go and be salt of the earth. Well, he's telling us, hey, you should have an influence on other people. Not literally the earth, but literally the people. And so these kids these students I'm about to recognize are young people who are doing that. And really my encouragement, my challenge is for all of you, you all have the potential of salt. Some of us keep the salt in our salt shaker, so to speak. We don't use it to influence. We have the ability to do good. We have the ability to do kind things and to encourage people, and we just don't for whatever reason. Maybe we're scared, we're nervous, we don't want to do the hard thing. We don't know what the consequences would be if we stepped up and did something. But it's interesting, out of these 5 students, multiple of them they've done that. They've just said, you know what, I'm going to do it. It's hard. But I'm going to step out and do it, and they are being salt. They're being what Christ said. They're being the salt of the earth. So I will recognize these 5. I know there's more, but these are the 5 that were chosen for this time. So if Abby Swinford, Catherine Wilson, Aaron Stanley, C.J. Hamons, and Reagan Cartmill will come down, we will share with you. Hey, they're all here. Very good. Very good. The one guy. Okay, so Abby, if you know Abby, she's not going to go out and just talk all the time. She's maybe a little more quiet. Is that a good description? And so I think it maybe is on the choir tour that, anyway, a freshman was saved recently. And so Abby was challenged by a teacher to go and start mentoring that young lady. Well, her response, out of being, being humble, probably is like, hey, I don't know enough to be able to talk to somebody about how do you grow in your walk with the Lord. She's like, probably one, I don't feel adequate. Two is I'm really quiet and I don't know, really, it's out of my comfort zone. And so she had to make a choice. And it's interesting that she chose to do that. And so I'm recognizing her for standing alone, because she really had to go out on a limb for her, all by herself, and go up to this young lady. I probably didn't know her that well. I don't know that. And just say, hey, you know what? Would you allow me to mentor you? Would you allow me to, invest in you? And for her, that had to be a big deal. But I'm extremely proud of her boldness, her willingness to step out and invest in other people. So Abby, thanks for your example. You're welcome. So Catherine's being recognized for valuing people, showing compassion. She's probably trying to figure out, okay, what did I do? But it's interesting that when you do things and it's almost second nature, I would say, and I think I can say that of Catherine, you don't even think about it, and you don't think about your influence on other people. You just do it because it's, you eventually, hopefully, you get in the habit of doing it. But there was a young lady who was struggling with her salvation, which we all should struggle with our salvation at some point. Paul tells us to do that, right? We should wrestle with it and make sure we're truly saved. When I look at my life, I need to evaluate it. Am I truly saved? Do I put my trust in the Lord? So anyway, this young lady was doing that, and Catherine was asked to go and just say, will you go talk to her? And again, I'm sure there was a little bit of feeling inadequate, like who am I to help anybody discuss this? But she did it, and she stayed with the young lady. Instead of, she could say, well, do it for a little bit and then move on. But Catherine invested her time, showed compassion to this young lady. And again, you just think about it. We need to be willing as a student body, not just student body, just with people. Are you willing to go and talk to people about Jesus Christ? Or is it, no, I don't do that. It's too hard. It's too awkward. But if you value people and you really believe in a heaven and a hell, like they're going to go to one of those two places. If I really believe that, if I have compassion, I will take time to do that. And Catherine did that with this young lady. So, Catherine, thank you for your example. So, Aaron, I was told, and was shared with, so Mr. Hartman shared this with me, that on the choir tour, I guess they couldn't get out of the room at a certain time. They had to have, I don't know what time it was, 7 o'clock, you could come out of your room. And it's interesting, I don't think I've ever done this, requested it. But what Erin did is she came to Mr. Hartman and said, hey, can I get up early, leave the room earlier than I'm supposed to, so I can go have my devotions. I need the time in the morning, reading my Bible and praying, and I know it's earlier than you want me to get out of the room, but can I do that? One is kudos for getting up on the choir tour early in the morning, because I'm sure you didn't go to bed real early either. And to make that commitment to do the hard thing, it's hard to be consistent in your walk with the Lord. For all of us, it's still hard for me on certain days to get up out of bed and do that every day. Try to do it every day. I don't hit 100%, just like nobody does in this room. But to consistently do that, but for Aaron to go and say, hey, you know what? I want to do that. Even on a school trip where, like I mentioned earlier, you just don't get to bed early. You're tired. There's a lot of other things to do, like sleep early in the morning. But just the example of, you know what? I'm going to do the hard thing because it's right. I'm going to be diligent in that. So Aaron, I appreciate you and your example. So CJ was, so we all did most of us, the freshmen haven't done it yet, but CJ on the local mission trip that he did in town right before spring break. This is one of those things that I would really think CJ's like, I was just doing what I was just working. But again, you don't, when we live our life, you don't get to choose who watches you. So when Megan's doing today, she doesn't get to choose, well, I want these people to look at me, but I don't want the other people to pay attention to me. And when we're doing good and influencing, that's a good thing, but it's also the opposite's true, that we don't get to choose who we're influencing. And so CJ was probably just doing what he just was doing work because he was asked to do the work. But it's interesting that the sponsor on that day took time to write and say, okay, hey, CJ did his work. He didn't just do his work. He did it very, very well. He did it thoroughly. He did it completely. And he said, and the sponsor said, and I was watching the effect on other people, and other people were able to do their job better and did their job better because of CJ, because they saw what he was doing. And so, again, just a small thing, CJ, but really, as Christians, as we do all those small things, we are going to be salt to people around us. So, CJ, thank you for doing that. Okay. So this is Reagan and Abby again. And there may be some others involved, but I was not given their names. But again, you talk about being salt. Reagan, I don't know whose idea it was, but I think she's in the lead on this, and Abby. But decided to have a lady Bible study on Wednesday mornings for other girls to do that. Not only on Wednesday, but then on another day to meet and just say, hey, let's discuss hard things, apologetic issues. Let's just discuss it and make each other better in understanding our faith and in knowing why we believe what we say we believe. And to do that and open it up to other young ladies. And I'm just telling you, there is a lot of that going around, and we need more of it. We need people, we all need people investing us and in us and loving on us and just holding up truth. And I think there's a lot of you who are maybe a little bit nervous. I know Reagan's probably not. She doesn't like stand up in front of people and speak. You probably knew that a couple of weeks ago when she ran for Stuco chaplain. But she did it. And, she's probably nervous about starting a Bible study. I don't know, but she did it. Because you always take a risk, nobody shows up, right? It's just you and yourself or you and Abby, looking at each other. So there's always a risk when you do things that are right. And I just want to encourage you. I know some of you, I think God's prompting you, because I've talked to you and talked to other people. He's prompting you to take that risk. Some of you are afraid your classmates will, whatever. They'll give me a hard time if I do what's right. But I just encourage you, that's life. It'll never get any easier. When you go to work, you're going to think, okay, do I do the right thing? Am I salt at work with all my other people I work with, other employees? And is it going to be hard? Maybe you're rejected, right? Maybe they'll look at you and say, well, who are you? Or why are you even doing that? Maybe you lose a friend. I don't know. But I go back to, if you value people, if you really value people, you'll be salt. If you really value your classmates, you're going to say, you know what, I'm going to take the risk. I was talking to an individual several weeks ago, and then I'll give this to Reagan. But there was a person that was in their life, and they were living in sin, open sin. I think he maybe was cheating on his wife, and this other guy is a Christian. And he said, I don't approve of what you're doing, but he goes, I value you as a person, and I love you. I know you're living in sin, but he kept meeting with him in the mornings and just loved on the guy. And it's interesting, the guy moved away, and several years later, he said, I got a call from that individual, and he said, I just want you to know that God's worked in my heart, and I've made things right, and I'm living for the Lord now. But he goes, I also want you to know that because you just love me for who I was. He goes, you didn't condone my sin. You've confronted me. You said, hey, that's wrong, but I'm still going to love you. That's true love. That's saying, you know what, I I don't agree with what you're doing, but I'm still going to be kind to you. I'm still going to love on you. And not that we don't overlook sin. I don't overlook sin. Try not to. I'm sure I do at times, not intentionally. But that you just love people and you value people. And again, as you do that, you're going to be salt. You are going to make life better. And so that individual who was talking to the other man, he made that guy's life better. Now, it took years, but it's interesting that he called back and said, I just want you to know you were salt in my life. He didn't say it that way, but that's what he was. He said, you made my life better. And so I need it in my life, and you need it in your life. You need hard love. You need somebody to really love you and say, you know, if I'm doing well, I need to be encouraged and continue to do what is right. If I am not doing right, I need somebody to look at me and say, you know, that's not right. Out of love, not judgment. Just say it's not right. You know, if I'm stealing stuff, I need somebody to tell me, because eventually I'm going to end up in prison if I continue down that road. I need somebody to lovingly come alongside me and just say, hey, it's just not good. And so just encourage you, because I think some of you you're fearful. I'm sure like Abby was fearful. You know, just like, do I say anything? Do I really go talk to that girl? She may blow me off. She may laugh at it. I don't know. But do I really do that? And I would say, yes, you really do. And then as you do it, it'll probably always be a little nervous. You'll be nervous doing it, but I'm just encouraging, it'll get easier as you learn to do what's right and trust God. Leave the results to God. Okay, so just encourage you. And the neat thing is, I could have picked 15, 20, 30 other people that are doing the same thing. These are just 5 that we happen to choose this time. So those who are doing it, hey, keep doing it. Okay, keep investing it. If God's prompting you to start. Seniors, you go to college, you're going to get prompted to do something. Are you going to do it? Are you going to step out on a limb and say, you know what, I'm just going to trust God with the results, but I am going to be salt and make an influence on other people? So, Reagan, thank you for leading the Bible study and going out on a limb. I appreciate you. Okay, you guys, thank you. Okay, hey, thanks for your attentiveness. I say it a lot. You guys are an amazing group of people and with a lot of talent. I just encourage you, go out on a limb, start being salt, so to speak. Start shaking the salt out of the salt shaker. Let the salt out of your life. Start enhancing other people's lives. Okay, so just encourage you with that. You're going to get a little bit of a longer break before, 4th hour? But I am done, so you have about a 9-minute break before 4th hour. So you are dismissed. Thank you all.